Now back on Speed Talk, I'm Jason Dale, along with Dean Reller, and we have a guy from the Thunder Car division, our point leader right now, and he won the first feature of the year, Kurt Deters. Congratulations on that feature win. Tell us about that race. How did it go?
I just went out there to get a top 5, trying to go for a championship this year. Just all fell into place.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, how old are you?
16.
16 years old, and he's thinking about a point title. That's really actually unusual, because usually the younger kids, they've been told just go out there and try to do well each night. But the thing is, you've raced for a few years now.
Yeah, I've raced go-karts for 6 years, and then did Thunder Cars last year, got 5th in points.
Did you ever race U-Cars at all?
Nope.
Never went right to Thunder Cars?
Yep.
What was that like, jumping right into a bigger car, going from go-karts?
It's pretty cool.
You know, your dad helps you out a lot, right?
Yeah, now he kind of helps me, makes me do it on my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the first year he helped you out, then, well, I suppose he's busy running the Super, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the first night you won, then the second night and third night, how'd you do? You've been consistent, because you were the point leader.
Second in the second night I won, and third in the third night.
Okay. What do you think of the field so far with the rest of the guys that you're racing with? In my opinion, and I think Dean and I have talked about this in the past too, we've got a nice field of Thunder Cars this year.
Yeah, they're nice and clean so far.
So far. You got something, Dean?
Well, you've been racing on the slick tires. Is that a difference than racing on maybe a street tire, like Thunder Cars used to?
Yeah, get more bite, go a little bit faster.
How fast do the cars go through corners and around?
You got a speedometer in there?
No, just stack.
Some of the guys do, though. Some of the guys still have their speedometer in.
Really? I never knew that.
Well, I know when we were racing the U-Cars, we were pushing 60 to 65 entering the corners, and of course that was 4 or 5 years ago. They're much faster than that now. I bet you guys are at least hitting 70 to 75 coming into the corners.
You gotta be fast.
Yeah, and you guys are going, I think it's kind of fun, especially up in the tailgate section here at the I-94 Raceway. I don't know if you got a chance to sit up there, but but you know, the Thunder Cars come right up at you, right up into the wall. You're running so high up there.
Yeah.
I was talking to some of the late model guys earlier tonight, and they said that this year especially, there's been a lot of dust way up on the high side. It gets on your tires, and you have to clean them off for a couple laps. Have you run into that?
See, last week I did. The other 2 weeks I never did.
Because what do? I mean, does it feel like the car's loose, or?
Just pushes real bad. Front end doesn't hook up.
Oh, okay. Talk about your family's racing career with your dad. You know, he's raced for a long time.
Yeah, 4 cylinders. Thunder Cars, no superstock.
And then Pat Henry helps him out. Did he build that car? Did Pat Henry build your dad's car?
Kind of half and half. We all worked on it.
You have a good relationship with Pat Henry, the superstock late model Thunder Car champion?
Yeah. Got to know him over the years, I guess.
Does he actually help you guys out a lot, or does he only come up to you if you ask?
Like that, yeah, like he said.
Because I've noticed that in the past too. He really will help a guy out.
You gotta ask him.
You gotta ask him. You know what? He'll tell you.
Exactly.
Now, last year you raced with your dad. Did you have any interesting conversations after the races, like, hey, Dad, I did better than you? Or did Dad kind of say, hey, kid, you know?
No, just when I hit him that one time.
Yeah. That was an accident, right?
Yeah.
And what did he say about that?
He didn't say nothing, really.
Now, you're still in high school.
Yep.
And what are the other kids like in school? Do they give you grief about racing? Do they get your autograph, or what's it
They
like?
don't really say nothing.
Do you have some your friends who come out and watch every week?
Yeah, a couple of people do it. They help me in the pits once in a while.
Who is that?
Andy Ritter, Matt Wobble, Tony Ellerman, Ben Mears.
Yeah. You guys, especially in the Thunder Cars and U-Cars, you have a good camaraderie between you guys. It seems like you guys really hang out together.
I help Tony out a lot, so.
Tony the Tiger, we had him on earlier here. He needs some help sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kurt, congratulations.
Thanks.
And boy, it sure would be nice if you get that point title. We're going to have you up here again, that's for sure. So we'll be back with more Speed Talk after this. TV Talk. I'm Jason Dale, along with Dean Reller, and we have a football player from the Minnesota Vikings, Darin Nelson. No,
Well, he's a little bit smaller than us.
Size, yeah, muscular, a little smaller.
Same name, but you're not the football player.
Spelled a little different
Spelled
too.
different too.
You race in the TQ division here at the I-94 Raceway. We call them the TQ cars, 3/4 scale, late models. We call them all sorts of things. But they have the motorcycle motors in them, and they fly around this track. Congratulations on your win a couple weeks back.
Thanks.
Yes. Tell us a little bit first about these cars. I mean, tell us how they're put together, because you're involved with that as well.
Yep. Me and my dad built everything right there in Isani. The cars are, it's Kawasaki 1100, CX 1100R. They got Winters quick change rims in them. It's got the polyurethane or the polyethyl for bumpers all the way around it. Them bumpers hold up awesome, and that's a safety feature, and it's been working great out here. The driver pretty much sits in the middle of the car, and the motor's off on the left front, right behind the left front tire. That was kind of put there for weight reasons, for basically when you scale the car out. These cars turn on a dime, man. They go good.
Tell me a little bit more about those bumpers, because that's something I've been real interested in. Maybe we could implement them in a different division of cars. Is that possible?
Well, it's possible. You'd have to basically start out, like take your front bumper off the late model or something. You know how they got the two-group bumper there? You could make a bracket like what we have. It's just like a 3-inch channel that goes across there, and then the plastic grips it like that. And it's basically contact cement is what we use between the plastic piece on top, the 3-inch foam, and then the plastic piece on the bottom, so it's just sandwiched in there. And there's about probably 3-4 inches of foam before you hit the plastic. And when you do hit, well, like I was saying, when you do hit something, it bounces back real nice. And it could be done on any car out here. It's just you gotta manufacture it and do it yourself, you know.
Now, there's been a couple bad wrecks in the TQs, hitting the wall about as hard as you can hit a wall with very little damage, and that's because of those bumpers. And that's the thing that intrigues me, is that it saves a lot of money, I would think.
It saves a lot of money, and the maintenance on these cars is nothing too. Like when you hit the wall, the bumpers, we have what we call a fusible link. So if you do miss the bumper, it's attached to the steering rack, and that's what basically turns the car. The steering rack goes in a fusible link, and it's kind of sandwiched in there. And if you bump the wall, I remember Gary Mueller last year bumped the wall in the back chute in the heat racer. It was right up here. And we brought it in there, and that fusible link just folded up, and that's all what was wrong with it. It's a $12 part.
Well, and then, let's say, so it's 3 inches of foam, you say?
Yep.
And when that hits the wall, it gets compressed.
Yep.
Now, does that go down to 1 inch, and then it pops back out slowly, or how does that work?
To be real honest, I haven't looked at it. I know the first night out here, I hit the wall probably the hardest I've ever hit it. And when we lifted the body up, everything looked fine.
So it's already popped back out?
It's already popped back out. And that bumper on my car just sprung up. It didn't. The plastic didn't break or nothing. So that was another test. We're using a bunch of different cements and stuff to see which works better too. So.
Well, tell us about your racing so far this year. It's been entertaining. I wrote in my internet column on I-94Raceway.com that the TQs, in the TQ division, the unusual has become usual.
That's a perfect way of putting it.
There's a lot of real aggressive drivers, young drivers, very entertaining to watch, and it's always something, I don't know if I should say shocking, but always something unusual happening every week. How's it gone for you so far?
It's gone real good. I've liked it all year. I mean, I've come out here and the 2 races that I did run, I won. So I gotta be happy. You know?
You can't argue with that, I'll tell you.
Technically, one race you did not get the points for.
But that's
We won't get into that.
yeah, that's a long story.
That was but no, the racing has been fun.
Oh, it's awesome, and I really enjoy watching these new guys, because all these guys were brand new, 0 laps on them last year. We put them in a TQ car, and you just watch them grow. I mean, Blake Bjorkman and Chris Farnham, I mean, them guys are coming on strong this year. You know, Tim Bumgarner, he's coming on. John Bumgarner, you know, I enjoy watching them, and they're fun to race with, and I love it. I love coming up here.
How about
Now with the cars, they have the bodies that come off,
yeah.
and with the other class we have Chevrolets and Fords. What exactly kind of car are these ones?
I never thought about
have a
that.
description on those kind of things, do we?
If you look at like my car was basically, we paint the headlights in it, we paint the grills, we kind of make them look like a car, but all the bodies they come out of one mold. And as soon as we can sell some more cars, we're going to design like a Chevrolet front and a Chevrolet back, and we're going to get into that as the series goes. But right now we got to stick with what we call in quarter scale racing generic body styles.
Well, you could probably
The generic car, okay.
You could come up with your own name then.
Oh,
Since
yeah.
you could come up with something.
Well, like the 7th car, the car that Carol Cheek ran, when he came up here last year, we repainted the whole car, and Carol's sitting there looking at that. I want Dodge front on that, he said. So we painted a Dodge grill and Dodge headlights.
Oh, really?
And there you go. You know?
Tell us a little bit about Carol. He came up last year, and he was one of the originators of this type of racing.
Carol Cheek designed this car. And Carol lives in Buffalo, Texas. It was his idea with the foam, his idea to put the motor on the left side. He started this car in 1992. My dad went down there in 95, helped him build the body. Carol's coming up this year again.
Oh, is he?
Yep. He'll be here in August again.
Great. Talk about Gary Mueller as well, because he raced with the TQs. Now he's racing with our late models. We saw him down in the pits earlier. He has a broken hand. He's going to race again tonight. That guy's got some guts.
Gary is what I call a racer at heart. I mean, that guy has got a heart of gold. He'll do anything to race. And he's probably, well, Gary was kind of my mentor out on the track when we started racing. Gary drove one of my dad's cars when we only had like 3 or 4 of them out here. I chased him around there and I'd follow him. And Gary, my idea of learning how to drive at that time was follow somebody that you know has been around this track and learn from. And Gary was like my mentor that way. And I wish he was still in here.
Yeah.
I want him to follow me.
You've done a lot of other racing too. Tell us a little bit about that.
When I graduated from high school, I ran like 2 years of dirt over at Cedar Lake, street stock class, and then I gave that up, and I just pretty much helped my dad out with the quarter scale racing. We have a racetrack down in Isanti, little quarter scale cars, you know about them, they're 3.5, 4 feet long, remote control, and I've been doing that pretty much consistent since now when we got this going, and a lot of people don't believe me, but that's how I learned how to set my race car up. It's right down the scale. I mean, whatever you do to that quarter scale car, you can do to my 3/4 car and it'll work.
That is unusual.
It's just really cool.
Well, is that a dirt track or asphalt?
It's an asphalt track. It's 1/10 of a mile
Well, road course,
on a
obviously.
wall. No, it's set up like
Oh, really?
Daytona. It's like a D.
Wow.
Incredible.
So and we got fans. Last week we had like 200 fans come in there, paid admittance.
Wow.
$4 a head. And
Wow.
we had like 30 cars there. We got 3 different classes. Sprint
Incredible.
cars, Grand National, and Sportsman.
Huh. How many guys do that?
Well, 2 years ago was our biggest year for cars. We had 40 cars there. And then there's a QSAC, a national circuit, that they have a touring series, and they go around throughout the United States, and they run for points.
If someone wanted more information on the quarter scale racing or the TQs or whatever, do you guys have a website?
You bet. It's TQSracing.com. And then my web address is in there. If anybody's got any questions, you can email me or just go to the website and check out the cars.
TQSracing.com.
.com, yeah.
Check it out.
I'm trying to get the link put on the I-94 website. I got to talk to Tim about that.
Yeah, we know somebody. This guy.
Right here?
We can get that taken care of.
I
Check
got
it
your
out.
link on mine.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll check it out. We'll do it.
Well,
The best way to connect with anybody is through the internet.
Yep, you bet.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, and I know you're not going to be here every week this year, but that way you're not in the point title.
Not in the point
so you
title.
can just go out there and just get back every week.
You bet.
Yeah?
You bet.
Fantastic. Darin Nelson. We'll be back with more Speed Talk after this. Speed Talk. Dean, boy, it's been kind of a fun show so far today. We've had some interesting guys we've talked to.
I'll say, we talked to all different classes on this show, I'll tell you.
Yeah. It's really been fun with the Thunder cars this year. If people aren't familiar, the Thunder cars are like a street stock car. They're like a car you'd see on the road, a lot of 1978 Oldsmobiles and Monte Carlos and stuff like that. Big, heavy cars, and they really have put on a good show this year.
Unlike the other cars, which are specially modified for racing, the modifications are very slight, and they are essentially a street car.
Yep. Rear-wheel drive, heavy cars. They go right up by the wall, and they're fun to watch. In the past, they've been a little rough at times. Had to come down hard on them a couple times. You know, a little bit too much bumping, or, you know, I mean, guys, in that class, they don't have a lot of money in their car. They've got fenders, so they use them.
Oh, definitely.
I've heard announcers say that by the end of the year, all the cars will be the same color.
Yeah, black, mostly, and dented.
But this year, they've been very well behaved, even though we do have some very young drivers in that division.
Yeah, and they're running the racing slick tire. Originally, that class was called a pure stock, and they ran more of a street type tire. Now they're racing used modified tires, which means the cars can go a lot faster through the corners.
Well, and it's cheaper for these guys. They can get these used modified tires for a song.
I believe $10 is the going rate. I mean, you can't buy much for $10, let alone $10 for a racing tire.
Well, and then how about a street tire? What's that going to cost you? $45, $50 a piece.
Exactly.
You burn them off, you know, the tire's going to last you a few weeks. So that really saves the Thunder car guys a lot of money. The motor horsepower has been reduced over the last few years. They used to have the cars with the real big motors in them, and now they've put in the 305s or the smaller block V8s, and I think it really has helped improve that division.
I think so, you know, and besides with the tires being cheaper, it helps the modified guys because those are old modified tires. So the modified guys, and gals I should say too, gotta be politically correct on this show, gives them a place to dispose of those tires, because tires are a hard thing to get rid of. You can ask any racer in the pit area, you know, what do you do with the tires? And everybody just kind of has their own little thing to do with them.
Well, you have to pay to get rid of them at these junkyards, and these guys are you know, can give these tires up to another class and make a little bit of money here and there. So that was a fantastic idea, and that idea, one of the guys who came up with that idea was Pat Henry in the Superstock division.
Pat's been racing with us for, as long as this track has been here, and he has a lot of experience and knowledge about things like that. It was a great idea to combine, you know, the used tires into a class and make them work, and work very successfully too.
And that's not the only division that does that. The Superstocks as well, same situation, except for they use the used late model tires.
Right, and those are 10-inch tires as compared to the 8-inch tires on the modified, so that allows them to roll through the corners. You know, a wider tire allows you to carry more speed through the corners, so as you can see, the Superstocks carry a lot more speed through the corners.
Yep, they're a little bit faster. I think it's kind of been fun this year doing our time trials, so we can see actually how fast these cars can run. And you know, it's a little bit misleading because their tires are cold when they're doing these time trials, so you know, during the actual race they would get a little bit faster than, and you know, or it would be later at night where the track temperature would be cooler, this or that. But it's been fun to compare the late models and the modifieds and the Superstocks to see how fast these guys go.
One thing about time trials, it's 2 laps, and as soon as you get on the track, you're on the clock. And it's the same for everybody. So it's hard to tell during the course of a race if a driver's caught in between traffic or way out in front, who's really the faster car. This, you have a clear track, it's you, the track, 2 laps, that's it. You know exactly where you stand, or don't stand.
Yeah, and it's been good drama for you and I so far this year as well. I don't know if it is for the drivers, how close that they pay attention. They maybe just go out there and go as fast as they can, but it's fun for the fans in the stands, and it's fun for us to see, now let's see if you can beat this time, you know, 16.92, here's the next guy, can he do it? That's kind of an added thing to the I-94 Raceway this year that we haven't seen in the past.
It gives the fans also a chance to get a good look at one car and one driver. I mean, when 20 cars roll on from the start of a race, it's hard to focus on everybody. Each driver has their time in the spotlight. Each driver has their opportunity to be out there and perform in front of the fans. So it's a good opportunity for the drivers as well.
I was looking on ASA's newspaper, Action Line, and you've had a nice article in there each week, and this last one was on Jesse Klug. And then also Bob Dillner, who is the announcer on TNN in the TV broadcast. He kind of made his first quarter of the season recap of how things have gone in ASA. What do you think so far in our first quarter of the season, or actually it's been about not quite that far, but we're in we're done
16th of the season or something like that?
We're done with the first part of the season. How do you think things have gone so far at the I-94 Raceway?
I think things are going well. I mean, obviously the car count is up substantially this year. Fan interest is booming. National interest is booming as well. I mean, Bob Dillner, as you talked about, he even mentioned something about our late model race last week on his website, and it only has national racing news. And here it is, I-94 Raceway in Sauk Centre, Minnesota, mentioned in with the big major touring circuits. So that's helped putting this track on the map.
Well, and Minnesota on the racing map as well.
Definitely.
You know, when you look at a national scale, I mean, you and I both like dirt track racing. We've been to a lot of dirt track racing in the past, but on a national scale, dirt track racing gets no publicity.
No.
Very little. They get a little bit with the World of Outlaws, and that's about it. It's asphalt is where it's at as far as national appeal, and this is helping put Minnesota on the national map with Wisconsin.
Yep, Wisconsin. And
Yep.
you mentioned that because
Yep.
I like to talk about Wisconsin, but Wisconsin is quite a bit further ahead of Minnesota in that developmental stage.
Yep.
They've been established. Dick Trickle's coming from Wisconsin, and we could talk about Dick Trickle for about an hour and a half and still not talk about everything. That guy's incredible. But he helped put Wisconsin on the map, and you look at a lot of drivers moving up into the Busch and the Winston Cup. They all raced in Wisconsin. Some of them also raced in Minnesota. Matt Kenseth raced right here in I-94. Not many people know about that.
No, and Michael Waltrip has raced at I-94 Raceway in the past as a celebrity, brought him in. But yeah, Matt Kenseth raced here as part of a circuit when he was, 17 years old, very young.
Very good.
And then, you know, there's been some other big names who have come up, namely to race in the Governor's Cup races.
Yeah, and that race is coming up in July too, and that's going to be an exciting thing. One of the touring series from Wisconsin, the Mid-American Racing Series, is going to be coming in. We expect to see 20 to 30 cars with that series combining with the 20 cars plus. From here, it could be 50, possibly 60 cars trying to make a 24 to 26 car late model field.
That'll be the last
Amazing.
Saturday of July.
It's going to be
The
amazing.
Governor's Cup. I think it's 6th annual Governor's Cup race here, something like that. And so that will be exciting. You know, you talk about other guys who have come from Wisconsin, and if you look up in the Winston Cup ranks, there's a lot of guys who started their racing career in Wisconsin. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dean, but, and I know you will. Rusty Wallace,
Yes.
Matt Kenseth, you mentioned him, Mark Martin,
Yep.
did a lot of racing in
Winner of the
Wisconsin.
1979 Minnesota State Fair race, too.
Yes.
Not many people know about that. He was very young in 1979.
And you mentioned Dick Trickle. Anyone else popped in the top of your head?
Alan Kowicki, the former,
Kowicki, yes.
the late champion there, helped come from Wisconsin, put Wisconsin on the map, saying Dave Marcus as well.
Oh, yep.
The Sauter family. God, we could go through a whole ton of names there.
You
Jay
could.
Sauter,
I can't remember them
Jim
all.
Sauter. Jim Sauter Jr. is the youngest of the bunch. He's racing Johnny Sauter, Tim Sauter, and there's more Sauters too, but we could go on about that. Some of those guys have raced here, by the way, too.
That's fun, yep. And so that's just something to look forward to as the season progresses. And yeah, I know you mentioned the crowd is getting more and more consistent. That's fun to see. They're working on the infield as far as getting the go-kart track together. And
Go-karts are going to be fun to see. And you know what? We even have to have a grudge match on that go-kart track, I think. You know what? And I don't think there's going to be any rules on that one. Whoever survives is going to win. You've seen it right here first.
Oh, no. I don't think you'll want to see this.
Oh,
This isn't a rated R show, Dean.
Oh, I don't know. I think I can push you out of the way pretty quick. Let's see about that.
And then the little boxcar races with the kids.
That's always fun.
You know, and then the banner night is coming up and things like that as well.
In October, God, we're talking a long October Nationals, a big event. Guys that run some of the major touring series are putting that on their calendar and saying, hey, we're going to run an I-94. It's like, wow, we are going to see some big name drivers rolling in here. And we don't even know who all of them are yet because it's only early on in the racing season, but look for that one. It'll be big.
And it helps the Minnesota racing scene. That's really the big part of it. It's right here in the middle of Minnesota, so that's really nice. And also, you know, thinking about how the season has gone so far, the late models are up for grabs. We've seen fantastic racing. We saw Nate Teesey come in here and win a race, Jesse Klug, and Trent Snyder has been very consistent. 22 of Coranda is leading points.
And he's qualified second quick three times in a row.
Yeah.
He's just knocking on the door trying to get that fast time in. I think it's going to happen real soon.
And then the super stock division, Pat Henry. This guy has been dominant so far. He's had some good competition, but is this guy ever going to lose?
I don't know. I know some of the other guys want to throw some tacks on the racetrack, maybe help him get a flat tire or something like that. He's just been on fire. But one thing about racing is, you can be on a streak of good luck, but things have a tendency to turn rather quickly the other direction. So it's a long season yet, and you never know what might happen in the coming weeks.
Modifieds as well, with John Notch has been winning every single week. He's had good competition from Terry Merton and those guys right behind him. But he's going to be a tough guy to get off that podium as well.
Very smooth
Yeah.
driver, very fast car, low slung, built especially for racing at this track.
Yep. So with those left-hander chassis, and they've really done well this year. Everyone knew that they would, but they've really performed.
Yep, that's a chassis manufacturer. They make a lot of the late model cars are left-hander chassis as well. It's a company that specializes in just asphalt type cars, and obviously they seem to hook up well to the track right here.
Yeah. And then, earlier in the season and earlier on this show, we were talking about the new drivers at the I-94 Raceway that have moved up into the late models. Not new drivers, but new drivers to the late model division. Rob Thurston and Stacy Roselle are the two real big names being defending track champions moving up. Rob Thurston has been very consistent. He hasn't had many mechanical problems yet. Stacy Roselle, though, is on the other end where they just can't seem to get the luck falling in the right position for them.
Yeah, it's a shame. But, last year in the Modifieds, they had a stretch like that at the beginning of the
They
year, too.
did. That's a good point.
The first month was terrible for them. Things were breaking and falling apart and trouble all left and right. And look what happened at the end of the season. Look out. It could be coming.
What did they win, like 7 in a row or something like that?
It was a lot of races in a row, and they made up a lot of ground because they were very far behind at one point.
And then I just talked to Larry Roselle, and he said they had a flat tire last week. So, nothing you can do about that. But I think things are going to turn around for them as well.
Definitely so.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's show here, Dino.
You bet. I think we're going to put a wrap on it for this week.
Remember, same time, same channel next week, and we'd love to see you back.